Now, the one video that I want to watch today, no matter what, so that's why it's kind of first on the list, is this one from Detox, because Detox's YouTube channel has basically exclusively been, hey, this is me, this is my org, this is me fighting my other org and a different org, and you know, really good like cinematic video and explaining the op that they're doing and all that stuff. This one seems like a commentary video. But it's really interesting because it had a really interesting thumbnail. It did really well at the start and all that stuff. So I'm pretty excited to hear this one. And it's titled Star Citizen Feature Bug No One Is Talking About. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen here. Let's see. And I hope the sound works. I might have to mess with it. So let me prepare myself for that. All right.
The oldest bugs that refuses to die. It's practically become a feature. It's lurking around every corner. It's in your ships, it's in your habs, and it's inside our stations.
No, they're getting body dragged by an invisible person.
It's at your dynamic events, your jump towns, and your xenothreats.
Yep.
And it strikes when you least expect it.
This has to get fixed.
Have an invisible guy taking them out inside the station.
Of course, this could be only one bug, one core problem for Star Citizen's live player experience. The Hollow Man.
So, what's it like being a ghost?
Ghost or dead? I'm very much alive.
Now I get the thumbnail.
You can see blood splatter. It's hitting you.
Oh, that did.
I cannot see either of you, and if there's a ship here, I cannot see that.
Oh, nice.
This is getting a little bit ridiculous now, and it's starting to feel like we're screaming into a void.
Fixed. Yeah, okay.
And nobody's listening, least of all CIG, regarding this issue. The invisible player bug has been around a long time, but it seems like players don't want to acknowledge it, least of all CIG. Sure, they've claimed it's fixed multiple times, and even archived it on the Issue Council multiple times. But whenever we've tested it after a supposed fix, it never actually is fixed. So, I'm making this video to entertain, inform, and generate some discussion around what I believe is simply game-breaking. As someone who enjoys playing with other players in Star Citizen, this problem has basically rendered that notion impossible. In a multiplayer game, in a multiplayer world where other players can influence the outcome of another player's gameplay, the ability to see said players is pretty damn paramount. Yet this is hardly being acknowledged. I think most players don't even know this issue exists or how widespread it actually is. And for those who do know it exists, they don't encounter it regularly enough to see it as a big problem, especially if you're more of a solo player or stick to very small groups whenever you play. So, please let me know in the comments below if you knew this was a feature.
A feature. I mean, we were at Security Post Korea. We were just minding our business, goofing around, and we were our whole squad was wiped. And then we were able to see the guy later.
Sorry, bug, before seeing this video, as it might give me a better idea of community awareness surrounding it.
It was awful.
Let me give you an example of a recent incident where me and my group developed the Hollow Man bug halfway through a small group session. We started off fine, playing as a group, hitting bunkers as we often do. We flew to Port Olisar, where our ship crashed and everyone inside died, as we often do. Myself and another player, True Sneak, respawned in Orison, while our friends respawned at Grim Hex. Upon returning to Port Olisar to regroup, half of the group, including 2 ships, were invisible to me. True Sneak, my pilot, also couldn't see them. Additionally, True Sneak, seen here, left the ship in EVA, and as I went to leave, my character stumbled and sort of lagged in position. Once I stood up, True Sneak had completely disappeared. At this point, the only way to fix the issue seems to be a relog. And this is just one example of an occurrence of the Hollow Man bug. Oh, we don't see it.
I see it.
If you're a fan of my content, you'll know I like to do things somewhat big.
Whoa.
From FPS training and combat to full...
I mean, the big thing is... I mean, Detox is going, I don't think they care or they're not acknowledging. I mean, I imagine they're having a really hard time reproducing, would be my guess. They must know how bad it is, but it's a matter of being able to reproduce and figure it out. Is it works on our server kind of comments like we always get? And yeah.
Full-blown fleet battles. So when you're playing with a large part of the server population on a regular basis, the likelihood of encountering this issue increases exponentially.
I mean, I see it all the time
we've encountered
too,
it a lot
but it's
over the
just...
last 2 years. We started noticing issues with invisible players in patch 3.8. So my first question was, what was so significant about 3.8? What changed? What could be creating this problem? Our best guess would be the addition of SOCs, server-side object container streaming.
Server object container streaming is an important milestone because it allows us to achieve a certain scale in the game that we weren't able to previously.
To put more content for the players to explore without being limited by server resources.
Core tech integral to Star Citizen's future as a fully functioning real-time MMO. Now imagine in 3.18, where we now have the prospect of boarding ships, stealing cargo for profit, and the FPS arena that is SBK. Not to mention Jumptown, Xenothreat, Ninetales Lockdown, Siege of Orison.
I mean, the whole fucking
large
game.
Events where lots of
people... Like you
people
said, if you want to interact with people, this is fucked.
Are going to be impacting each other's outcomes. I don't think I have to tell you how game-breaking it is for invisible players to be running rampant around these gameplay loops. So my first question is, why? Why is this bug proving so relentless? Again, our theory is that this bug is somehow deeply rooted in SOCs, which is roughly around the time
probably good theory.
when the bug first appeared in Star Citizen 3.8. Now bear with me because I am not a developer, nor do I intend to become one. So I'm probably going to sound like a dum-dum, but here's my take on it. Server-side object container streaming allows the game to stream players, places, objects in and out of existence, only showing them to you, the player, when it is necessary in order to preserve server-side resources.
I mean, where it showed... I mean, we have some developers in chat, and one of them used to work on Star Citizen during the SOCs era. I think it was really telling when he left the object container of a ship and the player disappeared. Maybe it's not server-side object container streaming. Maybe it's just regular object container streaming on the client side, because if you leave and come back, you're fine. Maybe it's the other way around. But in the end, I think he's probably onto something where it's related to object containers and things like that, because the moment he left that ship, somebody disappeared. That was interesting. That was really interesting.
Sources. What it looks like is happening.
Because I think most of the time it's like I died and now I'm invisible, or I died and now other people are invisible. All he did was leave a ship.
Is these resources, in this case players and ships, are being streamed out for some clients in the verse, but failing to stream back in properly when the need arises.
Yeah.
The game seems to develop an issue during play sessions whereby it fails to place a player into the correct container after that
Invisible
player has
ballista.
crossed the threshold of a different container or something.
Yikes.
It seems to be what we have observed over time, as this problem occurs when you transition from a ship's physics grid or logged out in a bed, then re-entered the verse, or simply died and respawned in a ship's bed or landing zone hospital, outside of a container or area that you and other players were previously synced with. You're in the same server and shard, but it's like the game failed to register your client after crossing a container threshold. Ultimately, you could just say it's desync, but the fact that this bug has been consistent for 2 years now, I believe it goes deeper. It also appears to be much worse in 3.18. This tech is an intrinsic...
It could be desync. I mean, we know that we have incredibly bad FPS, like player-to-player desync, where they've definitely improved the ship desync, right? But they have not solved the issues that we have with player desync.
Part of making Star Citizen work the way it does, and that is why I think this bug is
could be a
particularly
combo.
hard for CIG to squash.
This is the
I'm
craziest
also a
part
little
of
bit
it.
concerned about CIG's silence on the issue, as even when it is claimed to be fixed on the issue council, I do not believe it has ever been listed as a fixed bug in prior patch notes. And as previously...
Sometimes they message, or not message, but they label a bug fixed when it's not fixed. It's like when they can't reproduce, like the issue council sucks.
mentioned, it's never actually fixed. That being said, they have recently acknowledged an issue with the lower Valkyrie turret, making
Okay.
players go invisible after interaction, which could well be a very good place for CIG to start, or at least a good indication that CIG is aware of the issue to some degree. But are they aware of how widespread this problem is and how commonly it can occur? And will they acknowledge or at least address the community on a game-breaking issue that we have endured for 2 years now?
I wasn't aware that it's this bad, but I definitely deal with it.
Or is CIG unable to shine some light on this? Are they struggling to figure it out? Is there an inherent problem with the core tech of SOX? Or are we once again going to be waiting for a fresh carrot on a stick, some silver bullet tech that will come along and fix this for future renditions of the game?
No,
Frankly,
I don't think
I'm
so.
getting tired of this problem persisting through every patch since its arrival. I would like to continue backing and playing Star Citizen with confidence in the fact that CIG is aware of this problem and what might be required to fix it.
Damn, he's
The best
fucking mad.
outcome of this
So
video would-
Detox doesn't get. This is Detox super mad, by the way. Detox is pissed. If he's making a video about this, and like the tone that he has right now, that is a very mad Detox.
Be some acknowledgement from CIG and some endorsement from the Star Citizen community. I'm also just trying to raise awareness about this issue, a PSA for players, and to try and create a shift in consciousness around this bug. You might have had a run-in with this bug in the verse and assumed someone was cheating, for example.
Yeah, and that's definitely not the case. That's a really, I mean, that's the way to address issues in Star Citizen. I think he shared his experiences. He shared his love for the game, said, showed issues of where it happened, and gave some really interesting looks at it, and just said, hey, I'm just trying to raise awareness to this one. The issue council, classic, they're not doing much with it, and hopefully it gets better. So yeah, man, I've definitely experienced it. I don't play with groups as much as him, and so I don't experience it on a regular basis, but it is not cool, especially now that ships are invisible and stuff. What the heck?